welcome to this video about the changes in Toolkit that you'll see from the implementation of BS 12831 2017 and the different way ventilation heat losses are now calculated. In this video I'm just going to talk through the changes to Toolkit. We've got an article on our website talking about how the new calculations work and why. So the main changes are all in the buildings details section of the heat loss tool. The first change actually isn't to do solely with ventilation losses, but it's actually the outside design temperature which affects all the heat loss. We've added a choice here to use either the 99 or 99.6 percentile outside design temperatures for your location. You'll see here when I change this that the temperature down here changes. Previously, Toolkit has always defaulted to using the 99 percentile, but MCS's new heat loss tool uses the 99.6 temperatures. The 99.6 temperatures are colder design temperatures. We've added the option in here to use it, but we'll continue to default to the 99 percentile because we understand from CIBSE that they are concerned that oversizing is happening at the moment, and if you use a colder outdoor temperature, then you'll get a higher heat loss. But it's there if you want to use it. Okay, so on to the actual ventilation loss changes. You'll see we've got the heat loss methodology here, 2017, that we've defaulted to. There is also the 2003, and underneath all of your information needed for the new way of doing the calculation. If you put it to 2003, that section will disappear. So in this section, we've got house type for you to choose, number of bedrooms, number of occupants, and then we come to the zones. So we've defaulted ventilation zones to 1. Ventilation zone is different to a heating zone. It's about how the air travels in the property. There's information here about it, but essentially it'd be very, very unusual for a domestic property to have more than one ventilation zone because it means the air can't move from one zone to another. So in most instances, this is just what you'll see, and you'll have one zone. Then you choose here the ventilation type. So we have natural ventilation. We also have 4 different types of mechanical ventilation because the standard caters to all of these now. And you'll see here some kind of guidance about what to look for each types of ventilation. If you don't know, then just stick with natural ventilation. If you do choose one of the mechanical ventilation options, then you'll get an extra set of choices down here. So we've got the air changes for your ventilation system. We've set these to be the default air change rate based on SAP, but you can change them if you know that it is set up differently or using the manufacturer's instructions. If I choose ventilation with heat recovery, I also get a recovery rate percentage. Again, we've defaulted it to 90, but if you know from the manufacturer's instructions which it is, then please change it there. The next set of questions, if I just go back to natural, are around exposed faces. We've calculated this from the house type. So all this means is the number of faces exposed to the open air. So obviously in a mid-terrace, you're going to have the front and the back. It can be changed if you want to, but if you change the house type up here, it'll change automatically for you. The next question is about shielding, and there's 3 options. This is also that we can take into account the wind and the leakiness of the house. So we have intensive shielding, normal shielding, or no shielding. In a city, suburban areas, and out in the sticks. If you go to the information, it just says here a house on a residential street will have normal shielding. Then we have a number of floors above ground. This is to indicate the height of the building, and again it's to do with kind of the wind speed and things that are open to the air. Lastly, in this section we have how air permeability should be determined. So this is air permeability is a measure of the leakiness of the building. You can measure this through a blower test, or you can calculate it using some of the defaults we've got. So if you do know what the air permeability is when it's been measured from a test, you can put measured in, I know that this one is 4.6 because this is my house, and it's actually on the EPC because it's quite a new build. If you don't know what it is, then you can use one of the defaults here. So MCS's calculator uses the SIBC minimum ventilation rates, which is absolutely fine if you've got an older house. If you do have a newer house, so post 2006, we would recommend you using the default based on the standard, so BS 12831 default, because it gives you a slightly lower air permeability, or the other option here, which is the air change rate, and again this will give you a guidance. These will give you slightly lower air permeability for a newer home. So that's everything in the building details. If I show you now what it would look like when we're actually adding rooms, the only difference is, so for this house I've chosen it to be mechanical ventilation and heat recovery. So when I add my room and I select a room type, it will give me a ventilation direction, so it's either a supply or an extract room, and there's a tooltip here describing what that means. So if you have a vent in the room, is the air being sucked in or is it being pushed out? If I change it to a kitchen, which is more traditionally an extract room, you'll see this will change. And again, if you switch over to manual, you can change these yourself if they're not right. The last thing I want to show you is how these calculations now affect the output. So here we've got the room by room, and you'll see that we've actually removed the totals here for the total heat loss and the ventilation heat loss for the rooms. That's because you can no longer just add up the totals for all the rooms and get the building, because the ventilation heat loss for the rooms is calculated differently to the building. You'll see the fabric heat loss is the same. These numbers might look a bit odd. This is test data that's in here, but the concept is the same. So I've got my rooms add up to 1451 and my building is 1451 for my fabric heat loss, but my ventilation heat loss, I've got 1591 for the total. But you can see that that's not going to add up down here with the rooms, because my living room, which has got an open chimney in it, has got 1609. So for this naturally ventilated house, what you'll actually see is that the ventilation heat loss for the building is about half that for the rooms if you were to add them all together. And we've got an explanation here to say that you can't just add them all up. And those are the changes that we've got in Toolkit for BS 12831 2017. If you've got any questions, then please just give us a call or drop us an email or on our online chat. Thank you.